Hello, everyone. The purpose of this video is to discuss assessment in online courses. One thing that's important to consider is the structure. When you are creating your assessments, many of these things are going to be part of your actual assignment. Your SLOs are incredibly important. They are guideposts that help students know what they're aiming for. And if you want more discrete goals to include, I always encourage teachers to include those as well. Preparation, learning materials, and any examples that may be helpful for students, include those too. Students like to see what it is they're aiming for, what it's supposed to look like, and giving them small examples are extremely helpful. The tasks, it's important to give students tasks. So what are they going to do in this assignment? It's important to chunk them so that it's easy for them to understand what to do. So using your headers, bullets and/or numbers are extremely important so that students know what to do. And as they're working through the assignment, if they need to go back and take a quick look, they can easily do that because it's so well organized. Giving them a time frame of how long something may take is really important. You might know how long an assignment will take, but your students won't. And if we want them to be good time managers in their online classes, it's important that we give them all the information that they need to do that. And then finally, in terms of submission details, it's important to let students know what you're expecting them to turn in. Is it going to be a text box? Is it going to be a file, a URL, a video, etc.? What are you expecting them to turn in and when? Some tips for online assessment. Using announcements and default messaging in Canvas grades to remind students about assignments is really important, both with formative assignments, which are practice assignments that they're going to work on that prepare them for the summative, and also sending those messages for those summative assessments are great as well. Using a Google form as an exit ticket to check for understanding with those formative assignments are really helpful. You can see if you need to send an announcement or maybe create a smaller assignment to help students understand something that they're still confused about. Students also have an opportunity to share some materials that they may find to be interesting and important as well that you can also share with the class. Having students use a scanning app for handwritten work is a good suggestion. There's a lot of different apps out there. And basically what they do is they take a photo or set of photos of their work, but the scanning app allows it to be in one assignment and they can easily submit it. What's great about this is that the actual act of writing, physically writing, is a really good way for students to learn. So encouraging them to use a scanning app to write is a wonderful way in an online class to deal with those handwritten assignments. Using discussion forums for student-to-student collaboration and feedback, peer review, it's a wonderful way for students to learn from one another. And quizzes can be low stakes. What's great is you can choose in quizzes to allow students to take the quiz again until they get whatever grade they want to get or how many points they want to earn. That way they can continue to learn the material and really understand. One important tip that is important is that there's a comment box underneath the different answer choices. It's a good idea to point what the correct answer is, and then also give them some information if they chose the incorrect answer, how to relearn that material, whether it's a page number in a book or going back to a particular assignment. In terms of summative assignments, using Canvas rubrics and maybe even having students help you create them and then sharing them ahead is a good strategy to help support students with assessment. For tests, you can actually have a formative assignment and have students create question banks, questions. So you have a large question bank so that every student may get a slightly different test. For projects, it's a good idea to allow students to have an opportunity to present what they've learned. And you can use Google slideshows or discussion forums to do that. You could do it in small groups, even have the small groups check out 1 or 2 different presentations. You may want to consider a redo for a high stakes or summative assessment. Angela Hoppe-Nagao created a wonderful form that's included in our online teaching resources and in this slideshow, which is included on this page as well. And what happens is that she leads students through the acts that they need to do that will help support them in learning the material and doing better on the exam. Also, having students reflect on their assessment and create goals for the next time gives them self-agency so that they can go back and become independent learners and actually make important goals for themselves, which is actually very inspirational for all of us. Okay, in terms of looking at equity-centered assessment strategies, the goal overall is to lower or remove barriers to learning. And in the online environment, that's especially important because we have tech tools added in. So a few things that you can do is first understand that learning is both cognitive and affective. The way we feel about learning can also affect what we do learn. So if we give opportunities for students to share how they're doing or how they felt about doing a particular assessment, that's a good idea, or giving a space for students to interact with one another and share how they're doing and give some feedback. That's a great thing to do. SLO should measure what students are able to do by the end of the semester, not the beginning. So that's something to consider as you put together how much things are worth in terms of grades. Your course materials may be understandable to you, but not to your students, which can cause unnecessary barriers. Your job will always be to revise for clarity. And there's 2 ways that I really make sure that I'm revising my course content. The first is when students send me questions via email. I really see those as pointers. Okay, how can I make the instructions more clear? And a lot of times those questions guide me to do just that. Also, at the end of every single unit, I have anonymous unit feedback. I've created a Google form that students can fill out. And what's great about that is that I also have a question about materials. If students have found some materials that they find to be helpful online, they share those with me and I can add those into the course, and I can always send them via announcements to the current class as well. And then I also would encourage you to let students show you what they know in a variety of ways. We have this content. So what are other ways that they can show you what they know? Maybe they want to do maybe they want to physically write it down, or maybe a video, or maybe some sort of audio, or maybe they want to use a graphic organizer. There's lots of different ways for people to show what they know. And so giving students some options for that is a wonderful way to allow them to learn and be excited about what they're doing as well. Some grading tips. Create a format such as suggested on that one slide that I started with. So create your format and stick with it for the semester. You can change it for the next semester. This applies to modules and assignments. That way students are not confused if you change things midway that don't seem to be working out. It's also important to be transparent about what that structure is and why you're doing it that way. I also recommend being like a communication professor. State what you're going to say it, and review it. It's the same with assignments. Assignments should be out there. You need to let students know, okay, in the calendar, here they are. In the roadmap and overview, here they are. Here they are in a weekly announcements. This is what you're doing this week. And sending those default messages in grading is really helpful for students. That way you're helping them understand what it means to be an online student and helping them continue to learn to manage their time. If you are using tools outside of Canvas, which I love to do, such as I use Padlet and Google Tools and VoiceThread, I have students take what they've done outside of Canvas, I have them bring it back inside of Canvas in the assignment itself. I have embedded the Padlet, for example, and then I have them submit a text box where they copy and paste what they did in the Padlet. And then I ask them to choose 1 or 2 submissions by a couple of other students that they found to be very valuable. And then I say, share why. And I have them turn that in as an assignment, which is really helpful. And it also gets them to look at the work that their peers are doing. Also, you may want to keep assignments unpublished or not allow them to open them up until you're ready to have students complete them. If you're like me, I have a class with all my assignments in there, but I don't want students doing an assignment that's towards the end of the semester at the beginning because they're not quite ready for it yet. So a good guideline is to open one unit or 1 week ahead. You can open up a few days early so that students can get started ahead if there's those students in your class. And then that way students are working on what you want them to be working on when you want them to be working on it, but giving them some latitude in terms of time. I also use an assignment as an educational page. A lot of times students quickly learn what those assignment icons in Canvas look like. So what they'll do is they'll go to the assignments and they won't look at the wonderful pages that you've created. So what I do is I use this space within the assignment itself, and I have all the lecture materials within the assignment. That way it's all there, and when they're ready to work on it, they can look at the video, they can look at the readings, they can look at the wonderful pages I created, and then they can work on the assignment. It's all there right in front of their face. Thank you so much for taking a look at this video. Some support for this assessment presentation, including examples, are found in the online teaching resources Canvas site. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.